قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم.
Describing the words of the malaika to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, subhanahu la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Allah. We have no knowledge except what you teach us. So that's what the angels are saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in reply to Allah's direct address to them. Look at the humbleness that the malaika are teaching us. So we are wearing titles and claims like chains on our necks, hands and ankles, subhanAllah, tied to heavy weights, and we are dragging those weights around and imagining that they are advantages for us. And at the same time, that same one, heavy with these chains, is quoting the hadith and the verses of the Quran and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, "Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum." Allah does not look at your images, and these are part of the images. Subhanallah. So we have made them into asnam, idols. Subhanallah. Yes, part of the shirk al-khafi that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam cautioned and warned against. We are the first ones to confess that we fall into that without realizing, without thinking. And how to walk back from that? How to make it clear that this is like what Imam Ghazali was saying when he was passing by the Nizamiya was it Tus or in Persia, where he had been studying in Naisabur, yes, that's right. In Naisabur, where he had been studying, and he would say at that time, that was after the time that he had spent in Damascus, he had left everything. He left everything behind, his whole academic career, and his prestigious positions and titles and so forth. When he went to Damascus, and Allah gave him something special there, at the hand of the awliya that he had met there in Damascus. Then he came back, and then when he would pass by the Nizamiya, his old university, where he had been emeritus professor, whatever, big title, and Shaykh Islam, Hujjat al-Islam, and he would say, "This is where I used to sin. This is where I used to sin." Yani, to fall into the what Rasulullah sallallahu warned against, like Riya, for example, being pleased with oneself, ujb, and a kind of kibr also that will not help us in the grave or on the bridge or at the mizan or of resurrection. So what helps us is to surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Him to give us the title that He wants, not those that we claim. Because those that we claim, we are claiming with our nafs. You see? Including everything noble, not just also the things that are of dunya and that are clearly based on egoism or selfishness or self-aggrandizement, but the things that are subtly, in a subtle way, they are part of that, such as titles in religion, knowledge of religion, and position in religious setting. So The Malaika themselves are showing humbleness. Even in the hadith of Isra al-Mi'raj, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reached Sidratul Muntaha and Sayyidina Gibril alayhi salam told him, go on, Ya Rasulullah, and I cannot go further, this is my limit. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam went on, and when he turned around, he saw Sayyidina Gibril in prostration like a saddlecloth, a worn out saddlecloth, and used. An old used saddlecloth completely on the ground, thrown like that, in prostration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in humbleness. So Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us Sayyidina Jibril's humbleness, also that look, these are the Malaika, these are the Muqarrabin, these are the one that accompanied Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and showing his limit. They are showing their limit constantly. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam constantly in his holy hadiths and his seerah, his acts, his reactions to events, always constantly effacing himself for the sake of his ummah and for the sake of the best example possible, to give us high akhlaq and adab of how to be a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to claim anything for oneself. So we are not created to run after this and that besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we start taking the means for the goal, we confuse it, then even if it is a noble means such as ilm, and this is what Imam Ghazali himself said in the very first book of Ihya Ulumuddin, which he wrote after his time in Damascus, that if you want some knowledge of Allah, you must sit with the people of Allah and take that knowledge from them. You must seek that and make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your goal. As the masters will say, Ilahi anta maqsoodi wa ridaka matloob. You are my goal, oh my God, and your good pleasure is my quest. Your good pleasure. Allah's good pleasure, His qada and qadar, we make complete taslim to that. If we can reach that, that is servanthood, to be a true abd of Allah. That is the only title that Rasulullah preferred for himself. Abd. He is al-abd al-mutlaq, yani the absolute perfect servant of Allah, and he wants his ummah to understand that this is the model, this is the goal. In our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to take Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's example of his preferring the title Abd over every other person. Not to be the king of scholars, or these are titles that sometimes the ulama give to other ulama, Sultan al-Ulama, Sultan al-Arifin, Malik al-Ulama, and so forth, or Sadr al-Sharia, for example, in the Ottoman world, in the Indian world, lots of titles. Actually, if we start collecting all those titles, like Shaykh Islam and so forth, they put to shame Shahanshah. Like Shahanshah is something small in comparison, and already we know that Shahanshah is not the right color for research. And yet, subhanAllah, they have excelled in accumulating the titles, which might sometimes cloud our understanding that Yahu, be abd, and run after that, Allah will make you Rabbani. Allah will give you title, a high title. And as I mentioned before, it always comes back to mind what Shaykh Al-Haqqani said in Futuh al-Ghayb, not once, not twice, 3 times. He will make you Rabbani until you say to something, kun fayakun. So, but to say that that's what I'm running after, no, that is not the right path. What we are running after is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His presence, His rida, His good pleasure, His support, His everything. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mirroring that to us. That is the importance of His presence in our lives. Am I good on schedule? Good. I don't want to so, not ijazas, not 100,000 keys that open nothing, that lead to nothing in the end. You need one key, you have to find that one. Who is the holder of your key? Where will we get our amana? Can we claim that we are Sahaba, that we have direct access to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? We cannot. Not the next generation, not the next generation, but generations down of connected ones through those who are connected through those who are connected ultimately to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, taking that silk where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is bringing us to the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through those Khulafa, the Rashidin, all down history, yani spiritual Khulafa Rashidin. See, spiritual Khulafa Rashidin. Spiritual inheritors of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, distributing what he was created also to distribute. He said, Allah al-Mu'ti wa ana al-Qasim. Sayyidina Abu al-Qasim. He said, Allah is the one who gives and I am distributing this. Has this stopped? Never. Again, I mentioned before also, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani said that until Yawm al-Qiyamah this is continuing. How? Through what mode of communication or of transmission? Through the mode of Sahib and Mas'ud, Shaykh and Murid, student and teacher. So this is the blessing and the barakah of sitting in gatherings of love and gatherings of knowledge that ultimately we are trying to take from each face of the believers and their hearts that thirst and hunger for receiving our part of that Muhammadan inheritorship of Nur Ma'nawi, Nur Ruhani, that is connecting us to Allah and His Prophet, all through the awliya. This is how it works. This is the correct adab, this is the correct institution, if we might use that term, and the correct claim that we can make. But as for claim to run after this and that activity, as noble as they may be, and then lose sight of the goal, then no. That is not what our shuyukh and murshids were sent to us for. So it is no accident. These meetings and these encounters that we find in our spiritual lives as lovers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, singing the poetry of the lovers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these are not chance encounters. These are part of the divine support and prophetic madad and awliya's job also to help and to confirm and to build up. See, so when you make your masjid a place where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is held high, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرًا. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرًا. If you keep the dhikr of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam marfu', just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we have done that, that is a fact, then you will enter into the barakah of those that are loved by Allah the way Allah loves the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because you are doing what Allah put His complete rida, and absolute rida in, to make Nazim of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in the tafsir of this ayah, that we have exalted your name, we have raised up your name, your fame, dhikr, your good name, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I am never mentioned except you are mentioned together with my mention. You see the subtlety of this, the reference to La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that is what it means when we see in the mosques of Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah all around the world, from the east to west and south to north, when we see Allah Jalla Jalaluhu and then Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it means La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in short form. I remember that. So people who confuse that with, no, this is too much, they are completely misreading and forgetting the second part of their own shahada as Muslims. They are challenging the first pillar of Islam, let alone Iman, and not to mention Ihsan. How far off can we be? What happened to make them even imagine that there is something wrong in that? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرًا وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, Allah making ta'zim of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's khuluq. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى, يعني the inna of emphasis, and لَعَلَى, the lam of qasam, خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, and the term عظيم used by al-Azim Jalla Jalaluhu. وَكَانَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ عَظِيمًا. And on top of that, and for sure, وَكَانَ in the past tense, يعني in absolute terms, since before time, the fadl of Allah on you has ever been magnificent, immense, azim, absolute. No one can imagine, no one can put limits on that, because who is speaking? Al-Azim Jalla Jalaluhu. So he put Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam between two ta'zims. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ وَكَانَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ عَظِيمًا. Two ta'zims of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you are here, whose son and grandson are you at the tail end of time? ذَنَبِ الزَّمَانِ and ذَنَبِ التَّارِيخ. The tail end of time coming up like that and saying, don't make too much ta'zim. No, you can never make too much ta'zim of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if you are afraid of shirk, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is telling you, I am not afraid of shirk for my ummah. Because the shaitan has despaired that there will be again shirk and ibadat al-asnam anymore. So that is not what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is afraid for the ummah. So we tell those people, if you want to know, you go back to the hadith where he said, what I feel most for you, what I feel most for you, what I feel most for you is this, that, like that. The fitna of this, the fitna of that, in Akhir Zaman, the Dajjal, the Riya, the Shirk al-Khafi. And what is the solution to Shirk al-Khafi? Is you have to learn adab from the people of adab, from the shuyukh of suluk, wayfaring, spiritual wayfaring. You see, so if tasawwuf was ever as beautiful and strong and vibrant, it was from the very earliest centuries, even if not known yet until the time of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Imam al-Shafi'i as under the term of Sufi, because maybe with al-Hasan al-Basri, before that actually, at the time of al-Hasan al-Basri it started being used, so around the beginning of the second Hijri century. So as beautiful and strong and vibrant as it already was at that time, it is in the time of Akhir Zaman that it is most important and most vital, because it has become the only avenue of salvation from the shirk al-khafi of the Ummah and the Kaba'ir, into which are falling the Ummah al-Ijaba, yani Ummah al-Islam, day in and day out. So therefore it has become wajib. It was already wajib in the time of Imam Ghazali, because he said that by which only through it the wajib can be achieved, meaning the wajib of ikhlas, becomes wajib itself as a means to that work. And he meant tasawwuf by that. So if tasawwuf was already wajib in the time of Imam Ghazali, how much more it must be now, 10 centuries later, subhanAllah. So, in conclusion, and to sum it up, we have Allah as our goal. We have Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the holder of our inheritance that he is transmitting to us through that chain of transmission, which now becomes of that status of wajib to take it from, because it is the only means. Just as no one can reach, not even all the Anbiya and Mursaleen can reach Allah except through Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, He comes in your time, you must follow Him and believe in Him. And He has reiterated the message to the Ummah, you must support Him, you must magnify Him, you must exalt Him, exalt His name, just as Allah has taught us. And make salawat on Him. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. So here the tafsir is Inna Allah yusalli ala nabi. Because there is no comparison between the tasliya of the malaika and the salat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet. Salat of Allah. And then والملائكة يصلون عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما, as that is the means of cleaning our heart, to purify our, so zikr, non-negotiable zikr, and the salat and salam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is essential part of zikr that is non-negotiable also. To be people of zikr, you must make a lot of salawat. And how did they define a lot of salawat? At least 300 times a day. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa sallam. At least 300 times a day. To be sure, do it formally, maybe at the beginning of the day after Salat al-Fajr, for example. Well, this way, whatever you add, alhamdulillah, in the daytime. But that at least you never miss that mark, that minimum, which is the minimum of much. You want to pray a lot on Him. وَسَلِّمُ تَسْلِيمًا, with abundant greetings. Greetings of salam, yani purity, perfection. And complete freedom of any defects. That is the strong sense of salam, the way that we explain the divine name as salam. And then also peace, and greeting, and greeting. That's when we say Assalamu alaikum, Ya Rasulullah. But imagine, the strongest meanings for those terms, for the acts that we do towards Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to honor Him. So we take all of that from His inheritors in our time, as Shaykh Abdul said, that in every time there must be that, you must find it, you have no excuse. Even if you are on a desert island, if you ask with a sincere heart, and sincerity is required from everyone, even those who are in the midst of people, many more chances with travel and meetings and so forth, of finding someone who can help you that way. At least a good friend. If you do not find a murshid kamil, a perfect spiritual guide, a perfect teacher, at least find a good friend who will remind you always of, this is the better way. No, don't take it easy on yourself. No, I will not let you off the hook. That is wrong. A good friend, good nasiha like that. So allow me to be a good friend to you and to tell you, don't waste your time with things that are secondary, as noble as they are. But go straight to the goal and don't worry. You will never lack energy if you are turned towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at any time of the day and night, no matter what your condition is, no matter where you are, a free man or in prison or sick or old or young and healthy and strong and full of also spiritual himma, or feeling in a state of qabd and weakness and defeat. It's a turn with your heart and use that. It is much more reliable, ya Habibi, than the battery of your cell phone and your devices and your satellites and your this and that. Turn to your heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made to be the place for His throne, to be the place for love of Him and love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are good on time?
Good on time.
Yeah?
Good time.
Until you love me more than yourself, not just more than your father and mother, and your son and daughter. Allahu Akbar. So let alone your worldly goals. Because we have made now our intellectual quests in ilm a worldly goal. That is not the way. You are taking the very long way. Take the short way, because our time is limited. Our breaths are counted. Here we are, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rasulullah, and Ya Awliya Allah. If we do not receive guidance through that line, then we will never be guided. Allahumma lawlaka ma htadayna, wala sunna, wala sallayna. Were it not for you, Ya Rabbi, we would never have been guided. Were it not for you, Ya Rasulullah, we would never have been guided. Were it not for you, Ya Awliya Allah, in our time, we would never have been guided. Allah to use those means. That is the sunnah of Allah on earth. He sends us everything through His means. And then He said to us by the tongue of His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لَمْ يَشْكُرِ اللَّهَ مَنْ لَمْ يَشْكُرِ النَّاسِ. If you do not thank people, you have not thanked Allah. Who are the people that are most deserving of our thanks after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? His inheritors. His the teachers that are qualified. And there are so many who are not qualified. So again, do not confuse this with that. Go to the goal, go to people who are, that you can visibly feel that in your heart your iman is growing, that your spiritual state is improving, that they are reminding you of the essential things with the right priority. In that, inshallah, taflah. And then they summed it up with this. هات نفسك خذ سرك. Give me. That's the murshid. He says this to the murid, mukhlis. The murid who is ready to, not with words, but indeed in the dead of night, to lay down everything for the sake of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is jihad al-nafs. It is the hardest thing. Imam al-Basri, the hardest thing, jihad al-nafs. Don't be surprised. If they said it as Salaf al-Salih, it means it's not going to be easy, but look at the prize. So they say, had nafsa, give me your nafs. You can do that? There is a process. Look at their siras, all those awliya. 12 years, said Shaykh Gibril in the desert, 12 years. Relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rizq with him. And then in the end, the rocks were making zikr with him. Desert lions were making zikr, the gazelles sitting together making zikr with him. Like Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam with nature all around. Subhanallah, how distracted we are. How far away from. And it is yet so close. But it takes it might take 30 years to realize the message that your Shaykh told you 30 years before. Allahu Akbar. This is true, and they told us even also about that. Don't worry, they said, write down, keep everything that your Shaykh says in your heart or in your record of the good things, the important things. You will understand it later, inshallah. Allah will open that in order to make us, after a delay, to make us more thankful. And to make us understand also, لَوْلَاكَ اللَّهُمَّ لَمَا اهْتَدَيْنَا. So, follow that, find that way, find that means, and then they will say to you, هَاتْ نَفْسَكَ, give me your nafs, your ego, خُذْ سِرًّا, take your secret, your aman, your spiritual key. So look for that, and when you see that it is not easy to find, you will see, you notice there is a process, follow the process, and inshallah you will be pleased. That is what they did. All those awliya, Shaykh Abdul Qadir, Shaykh Naqshband, Sayyid Ahmad Rifai, Ahmad Badawi, Imam Ghazali, all of the great spiritual masters and figures and founders also of the Turk Sufiya. And this now in Akhir Zaman, and the time of Fitan, of Masih al-Dajjal, and everything that is now claiming your attention in order to waste your time more. And don't add oil to the fire. So you want to take the short way and look at the essence of things and the priorities, because our time is limited. And Ya Rabbi, Aish al-Akhirah wa sallamna tasliman. We surrender to your decree and your qada and qadar, but do not leave us to ourselves. Allahumma rahmataka narju fala takilna ila anfusina tarfat al-ayn, not even for the blink of an eye. Rahmataka narju. We are asking for your rahmah, for your mercy. The attribute that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasized over all, mercy, mercy, mercy. So give mercy and you will receive mercy. Make us merciful, Ya Rabbi Allah, with one another. Make us forgiving, Ya Rabbi Allah, with one another. Grant us hilm as you are halim, Ya Rabbi Allah, forbearance and tolerance and tahammul, endurance and patience with the shortcomings of others and ourselves, because we are the ones with the most shortcomings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept them hidden from others as an honor to us. We deserve that. We do not deserve it, but it's a gift from Allah. So we are also trying to be sattar of others' shortcomings. Do not expose them. Do not critique like you are perfect. Well, no one is perfect. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us the perfection of Haddad. Ya Rabbi, keep us on their way. Keep us in their suhba. In these gatherings, Tuba lana, gatherings of Tuba lana, ma'ashar al-Islam. Oh, blessings to us, oh assembly of Muslims, because you are all in the orbit of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his awliya and his successor. Keep us there, Ya Rabbi Allah. فَإِنَّ لَنَا مِنَ الْعِنَايَةِ رُكْنًا غَيْرَ مُنْهَدٍ. Truly, we have in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and in his inheritance a rukn, a pillar of strength that is never destroyed, because it is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His face, His holy countenance. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. Everything disappears and finishes and is useless, and only remains the countenance of your nurturing Lord, the owner of majesty and glory, and honor and magnificence. Ya Rabbi, we thank you. Keep us thankful until you take us back to you safe and sound. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. زيارة إلى شرف النبي المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وصحبه الكرام ومشايخنا ومشايخكم، خاصة إلى روح أستاذنا وأستاذ أستاذنا. الفاتحة.